So good morning everyone, welcome to Satsang. Let's make some silence first. Quiet your mind. Nothing else matters. Absolutely nothing else matters. Nothing to hold dear and near. Nothing to keep away from. Just reminding everyone that we use WhatsApp as a means of communication. It comes directly to me, makes communication much more fluid. I will answer your question now. Could you please speak about different means to develop humility? There are different ways that are prescribed to develop humility, but none of them are very effective, actually. What it creates is a mask of humility. The lack of humility, of real humility, it is one of the biggest obstacles, because it's like a shell that doesn't allow life to sprout. And a little bit of life can be experienced, a little bit of sacredness can be experienced, but the arrogant one is too far from the ground. And this is very common these days, very, very common. Many seekers with potential, they fall short because too much arrogance. And arrogance brings blindness, or blindness brings arrogance. Who knows? Where does it start, really? But let's say it the other way around. Let's say that arrogance brings blindness, because blindness brings a lot of things, including arrogance. So in this context, let's put it this way. And whatever approach there is from a seeker filled with arrogance, it is always like if he is evaluating a teaching or a master or this and that, he sits from his throne and observes. It's like he is coming with his car and to see if the parking space available is wide enough for him. And if it's not wide enough for him, then not suitable. So a lot of judgments and evaluations and this and that, which the only purpose, the real purpose for that is to maintain the throne. Of course, the arrogant will give the throne for God itself, for the highest authority, because arrogance has this hierarchical view. So it surrenders to the highest authority. And of course, it is filled with ideas of being special and important and aspirations for greatness and all these things. Visible or not so visible, it is there. In the majority of cases, this profile is the profile that fills the internet with their opinions about spiritual subjects. They write deep words and texts and all of this, but then when it comes to real spiritual practice, the real truth is they are not suitable. From this big majority, there are a few that can do the practices, that can work in intensity. So this is a different segment. The other ones, the big majority of these more common seekers these days, they are not suitable for spiritual practices. It is still possible, of course, theoretically, but it will take a tremendous amount of effort. And the thing is, the more effort is put, if you are able to put effort, many they don't want effort. They go back to their bubble and say, oh, this is not right. But with a certain amount of effort, they can start making the practices, which is good. By the other hand, this will fill them with more pride. This is bad. So there's a lot of things, prostrations, and a lot of things that seekers do, and it is taught that it is good. And it helps, of course, everything helps. But it is like drops of water in an ocean. So behind these big, arrogant figures, and arrogance comes in many ways. There's this idea that the arrogant is just a serious one that looks from above. It's not really the case. Arrogance has many different appearances. It can be humble. It can be fragile, apparently. But what is the same is that inner attitude, that judgment, that look, that evaluation, that shield. An arrogant person can appear to be a very humble person if it suits its interests, of course. So each one has to evaluate for themselves if this hood fits their head to be able to work it out. So this profile always seeks for a nice master, seeks for the teachings that he believes to be right, because he is right. Maybe he scratches his head thinking, why am I not enlightened yet? Some already go beyond that. They say, oh yes, I'm enlightened already, but that's a different subject. So these ones, they wonder, why am I not enlightened? Because, well, I know the deal. I know what it is, what's right, what's wrong. So there must be a little detail that is missing. And when I reach that detail, and one of the biggest hopes is that eventually it will happen. Eventually it will be proven that he was right. Eventually. So nice teachings are attractive to this profile because it is a large space to park the car. If it is too serious or if it is too harsh, they get sensitive about it because it's difficult to look in the mirror. But it is important. So for those out there, because they are the arrogant deluded, which they are in spirituality as they could be somewhere else doing something else, but they're there, and they're unsuitable. And they are the arrogant, and they are taking care of their life, their worldly life, just reading philosophy, writing, teaching others and writing philosophy and doing all those things. Just looking for a stage to show their car. It's not parked, it is being exhibited. So these, I'm not interested about these. But there are those arrogant ones, big ones, that are really trying. But let me underline here that I have no problem with arrogance. It is a need also. Because to walk the path, you need to be strong. And strength, when it is available intensely, and blindness is there, usually arrogance is the natural effect. But everything can be worked out. So how do you work on arrogance for those of you out there that are really wanting to transcend? To break with arrogance, it's not easy. Not easy. It is painful because all that outer shell will have to melt. And to melt, it has to be exposed to intense fire. But not the fire, well, the fire of meditation, yes, but I'm talking now about another kind of fire. And that is the fire of humiliation. Yes. Maybe it's not much of a, it doesn't appear to be much of a very sophisticated spiritual teaching, but I can guarantee you that is 100% bulletproof. It doesn't fail. So everything that you run away from, others' criticisms, others' evaluations, the disrespect from others, if you're lucky, if you're really wanting to break with that arrogance, then your work will start bringing this intensely towards you. And instead of running away from this, deviating and giving excuses in your castle, you will embrace this, you will submit to this. It's all around everyone. People struggle all the time so that they don't feel humiliation, they don't feel that they are not right, they don't feel a lot of things because it threatens their world. The arrogant has become a professional in giving excuses, in being right, in doing everything to maintain his reality, as others do in their own perspectives. So, humiliation, and not a particular kind of humiliation, the kind that comes from someone which is more important, the guru or God himself. That would be fine for him. No. From their equals and the ones that he considers to be lower to them. From that kind. From everywhere around, not just in spirituality or in spiritual means. No. Normal environment. To dissolve strong metal, you need to put it in the fire and increase those temperatures very high. It is the same with arrogance. Arrogance is a weakness which is a product of strength available. Is it physical strength, emotional strength, or mental strength, or all of them together? It doesn't matter. But as it is, arrogance is a weakness, but it can be transformed. And it is eventually a need to recollect that power and use it in a constructive way. So there's no better medicine than that. Lowering your shields and receive, look for, embrace whatever humiliations come in your way, judgments, whatever, without defending yourself, just embracing that. And if you're lucky, that means if there is still hope for you, people say, oh, but there's always hope. True. It's true. We cannot deny that. But at the level that you are, what is also true is time. And sometimes it takes a lot of time. So the seeker in essence is always suitable, but the character not always suitable. So sometimes you have to go to sleep, bye-bye with the birds, and come back again, start again, to be able to become suitable. Depends on the level of how the structures were compromised, how deeply. So taking criticism, humiliation, judgment, all things an arrogant character dislikes, embracing it without fighting. And if he's lucky, there's still possibility, this will come intensely in his direction. This creates a force that solves the question of arrogance. This coupled with hard work. Not talking about meditation because this is unquestionable. Meditation intensely has to be there. Then working a lot and especially taking harshness, criticism for those who are at the same level, that you see at the same level as yourself, or even that you see at a lower level. Those people that you think you are much more intelligent, much more everything. Embrace their criticism, embrace their humiliation towards you, or that you feel as humiliating. Embrace those experiences more and more. This is real medicine. Or else it's just adapting, because an arrogant is strong, he says, okay, if I need it, I'll go for it. And prostrations and all these things, mantras, they are good, but you can adapt easily to it. And you will just create these layers. So in the old days, masters would do this with their disciples, would bring this humiliation. These days, you have to do it by yourself. Consciousness has evolved enough. Information is available intensely. And of course, the interest is yours. Supposedly. So this is not a sophisticated technique, but it is something that works. And it is something that an arrogant person, or more or less everyone, runs from. The difference is the arrogant, he is fragile, but he has the strength to endure it. And this is very important, because this is the transformation I was talking about, of this strength. From a strength which is yang in nature, yang, male, aggressive, active, for a yin force, which is passive, strong, resilient, the power to endure. This is when, in this conversion, this is where this strength becomes a real strength and not a weakness. And this profile is always fighting for justice, for being right, for knowing more, from being better, for all these things. let him drink the opposite medicine for a very long time, because these things take time. And when you're under the fire, time seems bigger and bigger. So this is the path towards humility. For those who are thirsty, who don't have the time to waste, want it now. Because if you don't make it now, you'll make it never. That is the thing. Because, well, the hope you have of being right, it is eating your spiritual path, your spiritual work. Because eventually it is all conditioned to what you call ego, identity, to this character's views and opinions. It didn't start for that reason, but eventually it becomes that. Because the character is very professional at surviving, adapting, and eating your spiritual work. There's a comment here on Instagram. More time passes, the shorter time becomes. Yes, it is true. And for a seeker of truth, thirst is like a shadow. It doesn't go away. Those who don't have it, they are just taking care of their lives, like I said previously, and everything is fine. Everything is fine. They are on the direction they want to be, so nothing wrong with it. It brings a little bit of confusion, but the world is a confused place. It is, and it needs a little bit of confusion to become clear. And these seekers that are not really seekers, just prone to vanity and arrogance, they become examples for those, for others, for the ones who have potential of what is wrong. So they are doing something there. Everything has a utility. But for those who are thirsty, understand that there's no time to lose. And if you don't have this thirst, you're blind, still distracted. But understand that the key for everything is intensity. That is always the key. It's like you're planning a trip and you're planning to go here and there, but if the car is not working, if it doesn't have an engine, no journey, no trip, nothing. Just wild aspirations with no chances. It is the same. Without the thirst, there's no engine, so there's nothing. The thirst brings intensity. Intensity brings the rest. And the more intense it becomes, less chances of adapting, of the character to adapt to what he is experiencing. Because it changes also very fast. It's like accelerating karma. The more you intensify spiritual practices, the more karma accelerates. And forget about the good one, the bad one, because it is the bad one that represents the biggest obstacle. Without paying back that suffering, doors will not open enough. So the more you intensify your spiritual practices, your meditation, the more it accelerates karma. And you will observe in your surroundings circumstances changing very fast also. In that intensity, there's no time for the character to adapt. Usually, a common seeker waits until he is prepared to give that step. What does this mean? Being prepared to give that difficult step. It means having the time to adapt, to be able to move forward with the same structure from the character, the same fragilities, everything. He is trying to convince himself by some sort. He is adapting. So what's the point of the step? It loses the point. All the steps of a seeker of truth are steps of faith. He doesn't know what's going to happen. There's no security. That's a real step. The rest is just same old, same old. And it can be the same step. For example, you're giving a direction, guidance that you have to let go of that thing. And it's very difficult and you're struggling with it. And you think the best thing is, let me wait until I feel better with this, then I'll do it. Then there's no point. Because it will be just an outer thing. And that was supposed to be a way of breaking something which is closer to the character, innerly in a sense. So the intensity doesn't allow for adapting. Because if it is allowed, if you're allowing to adapt yourself, to give all those steps in a safe way, then what's the point? You're losing the most important part. Then just how do you say this? Just the form is changing, but the rest becomes the same. So the biggest message for the arrogant is this. The biggest spiritual message for him is this one. As long as you are that way, you are not suitable. It doesn't matter which techniques, what kind of studies, philosophies, it doesn't matter. You are not suitable. It's like as you are closed inside that box, without any windows. That is arrogance. Then the only light you will see will be an artificial life created inside that box. You will not see light. So become worthy, break the box, get out from the box, and make sure you have no box to return to. Soft talk will not do the trick. Prostrations will not do the trick. In intensity lies the real path. The path of the seeker of truth is a path of fire. Not a path of daydreaming. Okay. So next satsang will be Wednesday, 9 o'clock in the morning, Brazilian time, UTC -3. Until then, make the best use of your time. But